going on, sports fans, and welcome back to another edition of the Bettor's Almanac podcast. We are now in episode 9 of the Bettor's Almanac in week 13 of the NFL season. I am Matt Walsh from Sports Memo and Wager Talk with my good friend and partner, Eric Pauly. The boys killed it once again in week 12, so let's hear from my boy, Eric. How's it going, brother?
It's going well, my guy. It's going really well. Fantastic call by you on the Jacksonville Jaguars on the money line last week. I had to sprinkle the +4 for myself. I went 4-2. I know I missed for you guys with the Patriots game. That was one of my favorite plays last week. That did not hit. But overall, I did end up 4-2, winning record, make that 5 straight winning weeks, 7 out of the last 8, and up over 25 units on the season. So, I was week 5, I was down 3 units, nervous, like not nervous. I trusted my process, but I wasn't clearly, getting the reads I needed to get. Stay true, and now it's paying dividends, bro, and looking forward to cashing again. How was your week 12?
Yeah, man, week 12 was great. We killed that Thanksgiving slate, the Lions +9.5. That absolutely smashed. That really was a sweat-free bet on top of that. Jags money line, that was definitely sweaty as hell, but hey, they ended up pulling that out. Both of them were sweaty, the money line and the +4. Jags ended up getting that done for us. And again, it's kind of what we talked about. Like, you take some of these teams just hoping at the end of the game they have the ball in the fourth quarter with a chance to win. And one thing that me and you harped on was Trevor Lawrence taking ownership for failing with that offense in previous games. What does he do in the fourth quarter? The dude is just throwing some absolute strikes against the Baltimore Ravens. That corner route to, I believe it was Zay Jones or whatever on fourth down. What a gutsy throw, and just put it absolutely on the money. Was very impressed with Trevor Lawrence. And then again, they hurry up to the line. They throw a back corner fade to Marvin Jones. And again, a perfect throw. Marvin Jones ends up getting his shin down. We hit on that bet. And the only one we missed on was Stephon Diggs, which I was very confident with. And he started coming on late in that game. And I was really hoping for overtime so we could maybe squeeze that out.
Too,
but again, all in all, a very good week. Went 2-1 on the show. The Bettor's Almanac podcast continues to give out winners each and every week. So guys, if you just listen to the podcast, we're giving out free bets. We're giving out winners. So we really do hope you enjoy this and are getting a lot from every time you stop by and listen to myself and Eric.
Yeah, so I have to, again, apologize to the boys because my 2 losses were the Patriots and the Buccaneers that we talked about on the show. Those are my only 2 losses.
I had Bucks too. That was just a tough one.
Everyone in the country had the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, dog. Yeah. So I took that line early. I think I got it on Tuesday because I expected it to move to 4-5. Then once I saw it still sitting 3, not even 3.5, but 3 on Sunday, I was like, damn, like I don't know if this is going to be the right side here. And that's not the Buccaneers had so many opportunities to win that football game. The clock mismanagement from Todd Bowles. Their offense is honestly in shambles. Now they're going to be losing Tristan Wirfs, and we'll get to that New Orleans Saints-Tampa Buccaneers game shortly. But just another thing to remind everybody, our official picks and plays are going on Sports Memo. That is where we put our entire slate every single week. So feel free to reach out, DMs, questions about what else we're betting and whatnot. Of course, we'd love to get the winners on the show. There are going to be times, though, where the show might not match because, of course, we have some time in between. But 4-2 on the week. Would love to make everybody money here, so we appreciate you. And Matt, let's get into some live underdogs this week that we think could win outright.
Yes, sir. So with these live underdogs as well, we're hoping that you're going over to PointsBet Sportsbook and plugging these in with PointsBet, because right now it's time to get your swagger back with PointsBet Sportsbook, as new customers can sign up with code Almanac and to get 5 second chance bets of up to $500. That's 5 straight days of second chances where PointsBet will match your losing wager in free bets. So use promo code Almanac and enjoy more live betting markets than ever before. PointsBet, your move. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-270-7117. And the PointsBet read is a lot shorter now, which is very nice. So we can get right into these money line dogs, like you were saying. And this week, guys, with PointsBet Sportsbook, we did take 1 week off to get a new schedule with PointsBet. This week, we're going to be doing 8 $25 free bets. Again, that is 8 $25 free bets. And all you have to do, very, very simple. Any game on this NFL slate starting tonight with Thursday Night Football, this includes Thursday Night Football, the entire Sunday slate, and Monday Night Football. All you have to do is place one single live bet on PointsBet Sportsbook. That's it. One single live bet. So easy enough. Again, 8 $25 free bets. We're going to have some bigger giveaways coming up. But again, guys, check out PointsBet Sportsbook. And when you do, use code Almanac.
All right, so let's get into some live underdogs here. And we're going to start with yours because I'll be at this football game. They'll be at MetLife Stadium. I'm a Commanders fan, but I live in New York, so I will, of course, be seeing my Commanders facing the Giants this week. Washington currently a 2.5-point favorite. Opened at 1, moved to 2.5. I'm sure we'll see that still bounce around as we get closer to Sunday. But you like the Giants outright. Talk to me, Matt. What's catching your eye there?
Yeah, so for this game, this is actually very similar to kind of what I talked about with the Baltimore Ravens and Jacksonville Jaguars. I personally just don't think the Washington Commanders are good enough to win 4 games in a row. That's really kind of a lot of what it comes down to. And, I know this isn't a crazy upset spot, and I like to give something a little juicier sometimes. But, it's a good spot. The New York Giants have now lost 2 games in a row to the Detroit Lions and the Dallas Cowboys. And, when your record goes from 7-2 to 7-4, you're still in the positive, but it does look a lot different. You know what I mean? And when you look at these two teams on paper, they're actually very similar, especially in the quarterback position. The Giants have Daniel Jones, someone who's a little erratic, likes to get outside the pocket, get things done with his plays, with his legs, very good in the play action game. Then you look at the Commanders, and so somewhat similar with Taylor Heineke. He's somewhat unpredictable. He likes to use his legs to pick up third downs, can throw on the run, kind of has that Kurt Warner feel, the guy coming off the couch and playing in the NFL, So again, these two are very similar. This is a Giants team also that is 4-2 at home against the spread on the season. And with a 2.5-point spread, again, we talked about this last week. If we like an underdog, we obviously like the point spread as well. So with the Giants getting 2.5 points, I think that's a great spot. If this goes up to 3, I will be probably hammering that. And again, we talked a little bit about the offensive side of the ball. You look at the Giants once again, their stars, obviously Saquon Barkley, and Saquon Barkley has had 2 off games in a row. If you are the Washington Commanders and you see Saquon Barkley coming in with 2 off games, I don't think that's a good spot to be in because at some point, Saquon is just too good. He's going to break one on somebody. And I think it just might be the Commanders this Sunday, and then on top of that, when you switch over to the Washington Commanders, they're very similar once again to this Giants team. The Commanders are 16th in overall passing and in overall rushing. They're a little bit higher, I believe. But when you look at this Giants defense, it's right in the middle defensively, 13th in overall passing and 23rd in overall rushing defense. So I think that's one thing that they're going to have to shore up in this game is making sure that the Commanders aren't rushing the football on them too effective. Brian Robinson Jr., he's started to look pretty impressive. He's a strong runner. He's one of those guys who always keeps his leg moving on top of that. And, but all in all, when you just look at these two teams, they're so evenly matched. They're very evenly matched on terms of in terms of the defensive side of the ball and offensively. So when you give me a team that is that evenly matched and it's going to be a home field advantage for the New York Giants have lost 2 games in a row while the Commanders have won 3 games in a row. It's kind of one of those situations where you have 2 squads. One squad has their back up against the wall and one really doesn't. And when you have a squad who has their back up against the wall like that, they tend to come out fighting, and that's the team that I want to back. So because of that, I'm going to rock the Giants here. I think this is a great look at plus 125 against Commanders team that's been streaking. And me personally, I think they might be a little overvalued at this point in time.
Dude, so I hate that I have to agree with you here, right? Obviously, as a Commanders fan, I want nothing more than for us to win. This is essentially a playoff game. Now, these teams play this week. Washington has a bye next week, and then they play again in Washington in 2 weeks from now. But the magnitude of these games can't be overstated. And the one thing I will say about Saquon Barkley, and it has nothing to do with him as a player, but his calf injury is what's been keeping him kind of limited, right? So that's an injury that obviously Josh Jacobs has. Like, It's not something that's just going to go away. So the only way I could see the Commanders winning this football game, it's not the only way, of course, but the Giants' offensive line is banged up, and of course, the strength of the Washington Commanders is the defensive line. So, if we're able to get immense amounts of pressure on Daniel Jones and force him into some of those characteristic turnovers that he gets, I would not be shocked to see Washington, get some negative plays and win this football game. Of course, they are the favorites after all, but at the same time, Daniel Jones, who is actually just a bad football player, when he faces the Washington Commanders, he turns into a savage. He absolutely has torn us up since he's been drafted into the National Football League. So I like the Giants in a teaser, and I'll talk about that a little bit more because 8.5 points, there's no way the Commanders are 8.5 points better than the Giants. Are they 2.5 points better? Maybe a last-second field goal better, potentially, barely. But we can get into that. But I think that's a great look on the Giants. I'm going a little bit bigger for my live underdog of the week, and I think this line is going to close to 4. I think the Tennessee Titans take down the Philadelphia Eagles this weekend. I have not locked in the 5.5. There still are some available. There is a 5.5 available at PointsBet at the time of recording, so I might have to get in on that action now. I would like to tease the Titans. I know it's not technically an advantage teaser because you already have the 3 covered. It's not that sweet spot like the Giants are, but there's no way. Again, I think the Titans are 11.5 points worse than the Eagles. But looking at this game, the Philadelphia Eagles, the one thing that they cannot do well, as we've seen even with the additions of Ndamukong Suh and Linval Joseph, is they cannot stop the run. So what are the Titans going to do? They're going to give the ball to King Henry. They're going to pound the rock down their throat. Mike Vrabel is one of the best head coaches in the National Football League. He was a linebacker. He's from the Belichick School of Coaching. And if you look at the Packers on Monday night against the Eagles, they were surprised that Jalen Hurts was going to run the football on them. It's like they didn't know that Jalen Hurts was good at running the football. That's not going to happen to a Mike Vrabel defense. He's not going to be caught off guard by this. Tennessee continues to be disrespected by the betting market, and I really don't understand why. I get that they're not the most talented. I get that they have issues, that they win with makeshift players on the offensive line, in the defensive secondary, all over the field. But as long as Vrabel's calling those signals, King Henry's pounding that rock, and Tannehill's actually played really well this season, I think they're live against the Philadelphia Eagles team that, while one of the best in the NFL, no questions asked, is not like this juggernaut status team. I know they only have that one loss to my Commanders. Let's go. But that Titans actually have the best rush defense in the NFL. Of course, that's where the Eagles, thrive. I guess A.J. Brown might be in for a revenge game because, of course, the Titans traded him during the draft. But Treylon Burks looks to be like a hell of a young player himself. There was a clip on Twitter of Vrabel and Treylon Burks after Burks had that fumble recovery in the end zone. And Burks went up to his coach and said, "Coach, that's my bad." Vrabel's like, what are you talking about? He's like, "Coach, I was supposed to block the guy who made the strip sack on Henry." And Vrabel goes to him, "Hey, listen, what the hell happened after that? You hustled your ass off. You dove on that football. You scored a touchdown." So seeing, of course, we already knew that would come from Vrabel, but seeing a young guy like Burks take that kind of ownership and responsibility, and also seeing just what he's done when healthy on the field, I think the Tennessee Titans are still in good hands, and I think they match up well with this Eagles team, who will be missing Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, who is a huge piece of that team. I really like a look on the Titans as plus 200 underdogs this weekend.
Yeah, I think that's a great look. When I was looking at that game, I thought the same exact thing. I kept thinking about, basically what I've seen over the past couple of weeks with the Philadelphia Eagles. And, Philadelphia Eagles were kind of my preseason favorite. I did not take them to win the Super Bowl, took them to win the division, took them to have the best record in the NFL, which I will admit I cashed out last week. I got a little nervous, but hey, it's a good cash out regardless. And part of the reason that I cashed out is, I talked about their front guys on offense and their front guys on defense. And defensively now, they have been getting moved off the football, and teams have shown the ability to rush the football on them. And there is no team that is going to run it down your throat more than the Tennessee Titans. And if you can't take that, you're going to be in for a long day, and you're going to open up that play action attack with Ryan Tannehill. And to your point, Treylon Burks has been coming on. He's been looking really nice, and I'm really happy about that too. I actually know one of my good friends is his agent, actually. So it's really, I always love seeing his players kind of flourish and succeed. So same agent of Aiden Hutchinson as well. But yeah, so it's really cool to see Treylon Burks go out, start doing his thing. And he's a big body. He's one of those guys who can go up, get it in the end zone. He's a guy who can block as well, which again is important to someone like Derrick Henry. If it's Treylon Burks versus Darius Slay on the outside, I would imagine Treylon Burks is probably going to win that blocking battle. So yeah, I'm 100% with you there. I think that's a really good look. And, you know, to your point, once again, Tennessee does continue to get disrespected by the betting market. This is a good team. Good coaching goes a long way in this league, and I'm 100% with you. I think Mike Vrabel very well could be, you know, a top 3 coach in this league right now.
100%, and I think we're in for a good one. 5.5 points seems like way too many points, and that is available right now as I'm speaking at PointsBet. But going to, again, we're going all the way to Monday night.
Mm-hmm.
New Orleans Saints headed to Tampa Bay, take on the Buccaneers. So this is a game, right, that the Buccaneers actually opened as 6-point favorites, and it's all the way down to 3.5 now, which is kind of crazy. I can never believe that. I missed the boat personally. I got the Saints +4, -107 at PointsBet Sportsbook. It's up for my sports promo clients. I'm obviously giving it to you guys now, 2-unit play. This is one of my plays that I already have locked in. You like them as well, Matt. I want to hear from you why you're loving the Saints as much as I do this weekend.
Yeah, for sure. And real quick, before I touch on this Saints game, I wanted to give one last dog of the day. We weren't going to break into it, but Eric and I both touched on this before the show, and it's the Texans +270. I think this is an interesting spot. And, you know, exactly what Eric said before the show is, how the hell do you quantify Deshaun Watson coming back, playing in Houston, where he got traded from, hasn't played in like 2 years, you know, +7, +7.5 in some books, +270 outright. I think it's a pretty good spot. This Browns team is not that good and should not be dropping 7 on anyone.
Yeah, no, this is a game that Matt and I were saying nothing would surprise me if Deshaun Watson comes back and there's no rust, like everything works out, which is hard to believe it will be, but say so. I could see the Cleveland Browns winning this game 41-10. On the other hand, if Deshaun Watson is dealing with some issues, not acclimating with the offense, the Browns defense, which is atrocious, is allowing Dameon Pierce to gash them the hell up. I can see the Houston Texans winning this game 21-17. So tough to this is the game stay the hell away from. Don't even think about teasing the Browns down to 1. Do not lay the 7. Like, just there's other games on the board, bro. Like, you know, there are other games on the board. Leave this one alone. There's no reason to bet this one.
Yep, 100%. And that's why we're talking about this New Orleans Saints game. You know, I don't enjoy giving out Monday night games because you have to wait the entire week to go and play it. But honestly, when I saw this on the board, I thought it was the best play. And once again, I was like, how the hell are the Tampa Bay Buccaneers still 3-point or more favorites against anyone, let alone the New Orleans Saints? You know, it's pretty simple in that sense to me. You know, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, after losing 3 games in a row, finally got 2 solid victories. Well, I guess solid against the Rams, then against the Seahawks in a neutral site. And, you know, they started to look somewhat respectable once again. I think people started jumping on. And then it all came crashing down once again against the Cleveland Browns last week in Cleveland. And I will say it did take a crazy David Njoku one-handed 4th down catch to go into overtime and lose that game. But it's literally like this team just absolutely deflates. They just absolutely deflate. They can't move the ball. They can't pick up a 1st down. They can't run the ball. And it's like they wear it on their face as well. Like, you can see it coming. Like, if you're a live bettor, I would think you'd be making great money off the Buccaneers because you can literally just see it with them. It was the same thing with the Ravens. They just stall out and they can't do anything. And I think that's a big thing for me because this offense has little to no consistency. Tom Brady has been missing throws, and they haven't been rushing the football that great either. And as for the New Orleans Saints, you know, I do believe that they're actually starting to play better football, and especially on the defensive end. You know, the Saints are 1-2 over their last 3 games, only giving up 53 points in the process on top of that. I understand they lost 13-0 to the 49ers last week, but if you've if you've tuned into the show or if you've listened to me anywhere, you know how strong I am with that San Francisco 49ers team. I think the 49ers nowadays, I think they hands down have the best defense in all of football. No team is really, shutting teams out right now. I understand the New Orleans Saints don't have the best offense in the world, but they still have nice guys like Chris Olave, still got Alvin Kamara, can still move the football and stuff like that. And, for me, with the Saints team, I was actually more impressed with that 13 points that they gave up, because this 49ers offense is tough at this point in time. And you're going from New Orleans to San Francisco, and, you're facing a very tough defensive team. And, it's just one of those spots where I think they were in a tough situation, and holding that 49ers team down with Christian McCaffrey, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle. Jimmy Garoppolo has actually been playing good football as well. Well, I took a lot of positives away from that game, and now coming in to face the Buccaneers, it's, I don't really understand this spot, because they're going from New Orleans to Tampa, which is a much shorter distance. They're facing a much easier team in the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on top of that. So for me, I really do like the look of this New Orleans Saints team, and this defense has been coming back. They've gotten a lot of players that they've been missing, like Marshawn Lattimore, and this is also a rivalry game. This is a rivalry game, and anytime there's a rivalry game and you're going to give me 3.5 points or more, a lot of the time I'll just side with that other team. And, the Saints lost to this Bucs team earlier in the year. Fights broke out during that game. I guarantee they've been licking their chops to get back to Tampa Bay, face this team once again. So I love this Saints spot, and I think this is a line that you have to jump on to get this half point before it actually goes down to 3. I actually think this has a chance to go down even more before Monday night.
I 100% agree with you. And like I mentioned before we got into this opened at Buccaneers -6, and it was 8 up by Sharps immediately to 5.5 immediately, 5 immediately, 4.5 immediately, 4 even now. A couple of 4s out there still. PointsBet are great sponsors, hanging at 3.5. So still can do some shopping there, but that juice is only -107 right now on PointsBet, so you can get some value there. I already locked in New Orleans +4, so I am in on that. What impresses me about the Saints is, yes, they were shut out by the Niners last week, but they were in that football game the whole way. They shouldn't have gotten shut out. There was a Kamara fumble at the goal line. There was a interception that was called back on like a BS kind of penalty elsewhere on the field that would have set the Saints up deep into the Niners territory. And the way that their defense played against this 49ers offense that's also loaded, there's a lot to like about this Saints team. And yeah, the Saints are in last place in the NFC South, but look at like the Buccaneers are 5-6. The Saints are 4-8, right? Like there's not a gap, like you said, of 3.5 or 4 points between these two teams. Not to mention Dennis Allen, now the head coach, the ex-DC of the New Orleans Saints, has had Tom Brady's number since Brady has taken the leap to move to Tampa Bay. He was, besides the loss of the season, he was undefeated against Brady as a Buccaneer. And Tampa Bay just lost Tristan Wirfs, their all-pro tackle, right? Like that is somebody who cannot be replaced. Like maybe whoever their backup is going to have the game of his life and can play well against this tough Saints defensive front. But there are too many factors in New Orleans' favor and not enough in Tampa Bay's favor. And also, I'm not a trend guy, so I don't have the exact stats on me. But obviously, everyone's like, Brady in primetime. How do you not back Brady in primetime? Brady's like 2-14, I'm pretty sure, against the spread in his last like 16 primetime games, right? Like, that's not a thing. It's one of those like fallacies. It's like, yeah, the Packers kind of got that cover last week, depending on what number you got against but like the days of like the Aaron Rodgers auto bet, Tom Brady auto bet, like those days are numbered, right, if they're not yet over. So I got the 4, full disclosure, 2 units locked in. I'm sure it's making your card. Definitely shop for that 4 if you can. Do this sooner than later if you're tailing. If you're fading, let us know. But I really do like the outlook of the New Orleans Saints this weekend. I guess I should say Monday night against the Buccaneers.
No, 100%. And I think that point that you made with Tristan Wirfs is a great point because, like you said, you can't replace those left tackles or, anyone on those offensive line for that matter. And for Tom Brady, that's a lot of trust too. Someone coming over his shoulder to come after him. Is he going to be pitter-pattering his feet? Is he going to be able to step in the pocket? There's a lot of things that go into that. So I think that's a very good point as well. And, it's a Monday night game. You don't we're not trying to give you guys the games that are longer down the line, but this is a great look, guys. I really do like this Saints plus 3.5 here. I'd be pretty surprised if the Bucks covered this.
I would be very surprised as well. My own money's on it, so we shall see.
Yeah.
But let's go back to Sunday. Let's talk some teaser options for the week. Giants plus 8.5. Matt and I already discussed. And like Matt thinks they could win outright. I definitely don't disagree. I'd feel safer taking the 8.5 because that fits the standard Wong teaser criteria. Low total. That total is sitting at 40. So certainly low total. The 2.5 tease through the 3, tease through the 7. Value in New York Giants as a teaser, one of my favorite legs. 2 more legs I'd like to discuss as well. The Baltimore Ravens minus 2.5. This is the reason why, like, the Ravens are playing the Broncos. The spread is 8.5. So if you can get the 2, of course, get the 2 on the teaser, of course. We talked about this when you had the Panthers, the Ravens beating the Panthers, covering that large 13-point spread. And a point that I made that held true, not trying to like rub anything in here, but just like I still feel with the same facts of the matter. The Baltimore Ravens do not have enough offensive weapons to win by margin. The Denver Broncos, their pass defense has been great this season. Their run defense has not been great this season. But the fact remains true that I am not trusting Devin Duvernay. Yes, Mark Andrews is great, but Devin Duvernay, I can't even name some of the other receivers that the Baltimore Ravens are trying out there these days to win by more than 9 points. I get that the Broncos are clearly frustrated with Russell Wilson. He's clearly bad. They have those bickering on the sidelines, but I don't think these are still men that are prideful, right? They're National Football League professional athletes. So do I think the Baltimore Ravens win this game by 8 or 9 points? Absolutely not. Do I think that they should win this football game? And with 3 being the most common point differential of winner to loser in the National Football League, and you're getting under that 3 key number taken, I think the Baltimore Ravens are a great look in a teaser. Lastly, so there are 2 other spots I want to briefly mention because they're not necessarily available, but should they become available, I'd like to look at. If the Jacksonville Jaguars are 1.5-point dogs or the Atlanta Falcons get to 1.5-point dogs, you could tease them up through 7, the 7.5. Those are 2 I'd love to look at. I personally just don't see any of the outs I can get, so I don't want to recommend them here, but I will just briefly mention Jaguars and Falcons. If they get the 1.5, 6-point teaser for me, 100% for both of them. But another leg that I absolutely love, and I want to hear from you too, is the Seattle Seahawks minus the 1 or the 1.5 against the Los Angeles Rams. Every single player that the Rams have that is like under contract for like big bucks, besides Jalen Ramsey, will not be playing in this football game.
Yeah.
Bryce Perkins or whatever his name is, like he is clearly not the guy. This team still plays hard, don't get me wrong, but this is a practice squad offense going out on the field. They have 2nd, 3rd, even 4th string offensive linemen, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th string wide receivers, 3rd string quarterback, and now you're missing Aaron Donald as well on the defense. The only guy you have there is Jalen Ramsey, who of course is great, but he's not. Cornerback's not winning the football game for you by yourself against a Seattle team. Yes, it's a divisional game. Yes, they're on the road. They got beat up, and I think that this total actually might be a little bit low at 40.5, considering how the Seahawks defense is not great, and they obviously have a great offense, but Seattle minus 1.5 seems, almost too good to be true as a teaser. Like, what are you thinking on any of these 3?
No, yeah. Seattle minus 1.5. I think you are absolutely dead on for that game as well. This is the first game in Aaron Donald's career that I believe he's missing with a high ankle sprain.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what was interesting too? This is a little off topic from the game, but some commentators were talking about Aaron Donald. They're like, yeah, he needs to rest up just so he can come back next season. This might be the last we've ever seen Aaron Donald. And
Matt Stafford also.
Yeah. So I'm surprised not more people are thinking of that because he almost retired before this season. The Rams had to convince him to come back. So this actually could be the last we've seen of a great like Aaron Donald and a great like Matthew Stafford, But with that being said, I think it's going to be very interesting with the LA Rams, especially on their defensive line, because he has been such an anchor for so long. Like, he's been able to hide weaknesses on their defense as well, just because he's so good. It's like, oh, don't worry, we got Aaron Donald in the middle. You don't see defensive tackles having the ability to rush the passer like that, to get pressure on the passer, to immediately get into the backfield and blow up the running back at the mesh point position where they're handing the ball off. No players do that. So it's going to be very interesting for me to see, how, in all honesty, how bad is this Rams off or defensive line actually without Aaron Donald, or the Rams defense in general without Aaron Donald? You know who's been incredibly impressive is Kenneth Walker. Kenneth Walker is looking like an absolute baller for the Seattle Seahawks. And you see the Michigan sign behind me, so you know it's kind of tough for me to say because he smashed the Wolverines the one year. But I think he's going to smash the Rams now. And I think you're dead on now because, like you said, this Rams team just doesn't have anything at this point in time. It's crazy to see what a shell of itself this LA Rams team is from that Super Bowl team last year. It really is. And I guess we didn't really read into it like week 1 when they faced the Bills and lost by 30, but it has never improved. This Rams team has really never shown even a glimmer of hope this entire season. So why would it start now against the Seattle Seahawks team who's been very consistent? They've been running the football well. Defense not amazing, but they're good enough to get wins for that offense. That offense is potent. They got 2 top wideouts on the outside. And again, Kenneth Walker is showing to be an absolute force in this league. He's one guy that I look at his 2 touchdown prop every single Sunday. You know, just because he's been playing that good, and I wouldn't be surprised if he got it again this week.
I would not be surprised whatsoever. Like you mentioned, the Rams also, they have had the best injury luck in the NFL over the past couple of seasons, and it's all come crashing down now. They are putting out a preseason squad. And the one thing, too, again, like I said earlier, but to reiterate, these guys are going to play their asses off, right? Like Sean McVay still has the locker room, right? Like these guys, this is their chance to maybe get a contract after this season. Right, the Rams have always been that kind of roster where they've had studs and then duds, right? Like they've had such high-paid players that are amazing, and then they've kind of filled in the rest that have guys that could just fit in the scheme that weren't high-paid. Not, of course, like this is also another question which I don't know if we should get into now, but it's like, would you give up kind of the next 5 years of potential mediocrity with the Rams and like losing all your great players, but you got that one ring? So. As a Commanders fan, and from that standpoint, probably as a Lions fan, I'd say screw that. Give me the ring. Like I don't care about 5 more years of misery. But it's interesting what's going on in LA. McVay might be in TV next year. Seattle -1.5 and a teaser just seems like a great leg. But
I love your teaser. I always love your teasers. Like right when they come across that screen, you're like, damn, that looks nice. So
dude, I went 2-0 on the teasers last week. I had the Patriots teased up with the Eagles, and I had the Eagles teased with the Jets. -1, and of course they blew out the Bears last week. But those are the 3 legs that I am really looking at hard, and just looking to find. So some of these sports books, man, I don't know if I'm missing something or what it is, but like they just offer such inconsistent lines on teasers. Like a standard 6-point teaser should be -120 at most. You should never be laying more than -120 on a teaser. I will find those -120s often on some of these other sports books, and they'll be like -130 for a standard 6-point teaser, and that is negative EV. You need to find a -120 when going for those teasers. The 6-point teasers 100%.
Yeah.
But moving on to one of the more interesting games on the slate, I think we have differing opinions on this game, so I'd love to go into it. This is not something that I'm looking to make the card realistically. I just thought it was worth mentioning. Another huge game, Chiefs Bengals, but we're going with the Miami Dolphins headed to San Francisco, take on the Niners. If I had, gun to my head, had to pick a side, I am going with San Francisco to cover this game. Miami is dealing with an injury to Teron Armstead, who is a huge piece to their offensive line, and the San Francisco 49ers are going to be able to pressure Tua and, kind of make it difficult for the Dolphins to get that rhythm on offense, but the downfield, even the intermediate passing game. But something that's very interesting about this game is, of course, Mike McDaniel, Dolphins head coach, came from San Francisco, came up under Kyle Shanahan. So I have a feeling this could be like a chess match of sorts with run games out the wazoo, because both these guys love their run schemes. And I don't know if we're in for like a firework type of game, considering the Armstead injury and considering that these 2 guys make their bones on the ground. How are you viewing this game, Matt?
So, yeah, I'm not going to lie. This has been a tougher game for me to quantify, like we kind of talked about beforehand. I talk about the San Francisco 49ers every week, I feel like. They're still my Super Bowl favorite. They're the team that I believe can rush the football the best. I believe they have the best defensive line, best defense overall. The question always remains is Jimmy Garoppolo going to protect the football enough for this team to get it done, essentially? And, this is honestly a spot, though, where, the San Francisco 49ers have won 4 games in a row now. And because of that, I just feel like they're due for a close matchup at some point. I think it just maybe could be the Miami Dolphins. To your point, Mike McDaniel was a coach with the San Francisco 49ers, the offensive coordinator. And so he does know this team very, very well. And, it's just one of those spots where I feel like with the homecoming, the +4, sorry, my dog. I haven't dove into this game as hard as maybe you have, but it's just a spot I think Miami could potentially stay close. They have potentially the best weapons. They're the fastest team in all of football. And, I think that's tough to prep for some defenses. And, Tua, one thing I will say with Tua, he has been the most accurate quarterback throughout the NFL. When I watch him every single week, his arm strength, when he actually throws a deep ball down the field, he can get it down there. He can throw it 50, 60 yards. But when he is throwing into zones, he's so good at timing his receiver, hitting that zone, breaking it down, things of that nature. And that's one thing that you're going to have to do against the San Francisco 49ers. One thing that I still do worry about with Tua, though, is if he gets hit at any point in time, is he going to get up? Is he going to get that concussion? I feel like at all times, this Miami Dolphins team is on thin ice. And when you're going against guys like Nick Bosa coming off that edge, you can get hit, and that can happen pretty easily. So that's one thing that I always do keep that in mind with Tua, with the Miami Dolphins. Not the strongest pick in the world. Probably, again, like you said, not going to make my card, but I think I would favor the Dolphins with the +4. Anything under that, though, I think I'm going to San Francisco.
Yeah, no, definitely it's a game I wanted to dive into because I would lean Miami to start, but considering I would like the over too, but considering the Armstead injury, I think that is something that cannot be understated. So the total is sitting 46.5. I would have assumed over 100% again, but then I'm sure that number would have gotten inflated also based on that. But that's something very interesting to go, and it should be a hell of a game on Sunday. But Thursday Night Football, New England Patriots hosting the Buffalo Bills. Matt and I were talking before the show that this line makes absolutely no sense. The Buffalo Bills opened as 5.5-point favorites in New England. Now it's all the way down to 3.5, and I can't fathom it personally. I don't understand how. Of course, the Patriots beat the Bills one time last year, but that was that win game where they threw the ball literally 3 times. And the Buffalo Bills, and the other 2 times they met last season, dismantled this Patriots team, including that playoff performance where Josh Allen had like an all-time great playoff game in that matchup. We have some props, though, Matt. You like Devin Singletary to, not have the best game on the ground, and I can easily see why. Talk to me. What are you thinking here?
Yeah, and usually I love taking overs, as you guys know, but this was one of those games where when I was breaking down the props and me and Eric were talking about it a little bit, there wasn't exactly a prop that just jumped off the page to me. And usually there's one that stands out, So for me, that's why I ended up going with Devin Singletary under 51.5 rushing yards. Bills on the season are 8th in overall rushing yards, but I do think a lot of that comes from Josh Allen and what he's able to do in taking off with his legs. And Josh Allen taking off with his legs also adds to the Buffalo Bills yard per carry average. This is a number Devin Singletary has also only hit in 4 of 11 games this season. And the majority of those games have been lesser rushing defenses. Those hits came against the Detroit Lions. We know how the Detroit Lions are at stopping the run. The Cleveland Browns, Green Bay Packers, and Kansas City Chiefs. All teams that struggle mightily against the run. Now the Bills travel on the road to face off against the New England Patriots. And if there's one thing that you can say about the New England Patriots, it's been that they've been pretty stout defensively. Bill Belichick as the head coach, this defense is ready every single season. They got someone like Matthew Judon now coming off the edge, Lawrence Guy. This is a tough defense, and they're very good against the run, and they're very good in gap protection. They're very good at setting their defenders up, getting low, creating length, separating, and getting to that ball carrier. So because of that, I really do like this under with Devin Singletary. When Devin Singletary has faced off against the New England Patriots, he's hitting this under at a 66% rate on top of that. So for me too, Devin Singletary is also someone who has a cap limit. If he say going into the second half, he only has like 18 yards rushing and 7 carries. He's probably not going to get more than 14 carries or anything like that. So he's one of those guys you don't have to worry about him maxing out with carries or something along those lines, just because this Bills offense also runs somewhat of a running back by committee. You know, they still have James Cook back there. They still have Naheem Hines back there. So, you know, it could be one of those games too where Devin Singletary comes out and gets 10 carries, 11 carries. You never know exactly the scheme that the Buffalo Bills may go with. You know, James Cook is also a little bigger than Devin Singletary. If it's cold, if it's rainy, if it's windy, whatever it may be, the Bills may switch it up and go with James Cook instead of Singletary just because of his size and his ability to go in between the tackles in comparison to Devin Singletary here. So because of that, I'm going to rock this under 51.5 rushing yards. Again, hitting this at a 66% rate against the New England Patriots and has only gone over this number in 4 of 11 games this season. I like this under here. I think it's another great spot.
Yeah, no, I like that play as well. Certainly, dude. The Patriots' run defense is great. And like you mentioned, I think Josh Allen is going to steal some of that thunder. So I like that look. And that leads me to my player prop of the week. I normally, I'm not always like props. I definitely play props, don't get me wrong, but they're not always top of mind for me. I'm looking at the teaser angles, of course. So I'm straight against the spreads. But like you said, Josh Allen might take over this game. And that's why I like him to go over the 7.5 rushing attempts tonight, which would, of course, take away some of the ability for Singletary to have the 51.5 rushing yards for this matchup. Since Allen's injury, right, he clearly has not been the same football player. And this is more so, like with that, all things considered with Josh Allen, obviously he runs the football a lot in the first place. The injury to the arm, of course, maybe he'll get himself going on the ground more. But this is also more of a kind of indictment on the Patriots defense, right? They're a great unit when they play struggling offenses, which is, again, why I cannot believe that this line is down to 3.5. If I see a 3 at -129, like below -130, like I'm hopping in immediately. So I'll keep everybody posted there. But the Patriots struggle against rushing quarterbacks. They're great within their scheme and their system, but once the play breaks down, they're not as great with their ability to adjust. Like this Patriots team, right, they have some good players on defense, but it's not like this overwhelmingly amazing defensive unit. So Josh Allen, designed runs, scrambles, 7.5, pretty high number, honestly. In primetime, most numbers you see are going to be inflated because that's the only game on the slate, of course. But I think 7.5, I think it's going to be by one rush. I think he might get there with 8 rushing attempts. Again, a mixture of designed runs for first downs, even quarterback sneaks, you know, they count on that one too. And some out of the pocket, looking for digs down the field. No, not open. Okay, let me duck and run and get 7 yards by myself.
But no, he is that good, man.
He is that good. He has that ability, and I think we're in for a good football game. And if I see a three at any point in time, I'll be staring at the dot screen all day. I'm hopping in on the on the Buffalo Bills to beat the Patriots by 3.
Yeah.
But Matt, any closing thoughts for today?
No, another great episode as always. Want to run down the picks real quick one more time?
Yeah, of course. So for picks, we were talking live underdog of the week. I think the Tennessee Titans +5.5 and on the money line are good bets. Matt's loving the Giants +2.5 or on the money line +125. Moving forward, New Orleans Saints, I am on +4. Matt likes the +3.5. Obviously likes the +4, so we recommend getting into that if you can. There's some available there. Teaser options, I like the Ravens teased down. I love the Giants teased up, and I love the Seattle Seahawks teased down to 1.5. San Francisco, Miami, we're saying probably pass. We would say take a look at the Texans. However, definitely do not make that a 10-unit max whale go bomb, of course, or anything. It's very hard to quantify. And then player props for the week. Matt tonight, Devin Singletary under 51.5 rushing yards. And I like Josh Allen over 7.5 rushing attempts.
Yes, sir. And remember, guys, got that points bet giveaway going on now. 8 free bets of $25. All you have to do is place a single live bet on points bet for any game on this entire Week 13 NFL slate.
We appreciate every single one of you guys liking the video or the podcast, commenting, downloading, reviewing are the best ways to help us grow so we can give you guys more free bets from PointsBet, so we can give you guys more information that's actionable so you guys can win yourself some money. We appreciate any of you. Our DMs are open. You can follow us on Twitter at Bettor's Almanac. You can follow Matt at Moneyline_Matt and myself at Slime Action. We appreciate every single one of you. We'll catch you guys next week.
Peace out.